Hey guys, what is going on? So we are back we didn't have a Monday, Tuesday market breakdown, but we are here on Wednesday, and it is looking good. It's looking really good for the markets, I'll be honest with you. I did miss the volatility on the New Zealand pairs though, unfortunately, but it is okay because we are in the momentum run, so there will be plenty of opportunity, an abundance of opportunity that we will all get involved on. Had an amazing time in Lithuania. Went to a wedding, a Lithuanian wedding. Honestly guys, phenomenal. You know, how the Europeans get down is awesome. Much better than a lot of weddings I've ever been to. Just because I think maybe how it's kind of themed, I kind of like the sort of vibes. Haven't been to a lot of weddings actually. I've been to Indian weddings, I've been to English weddings, I've been to a mixture of like cultured weddings as well. I've been to African wedding. Mine was kind of more African themed, but not African wedding. I've been invited to an Islamic wedding, but I failed to attend, which was unfortunate. Twice, two different ones as well. They were kind of like last minute invitations as well, so it was a bit difficult. I've been to Christian weddings where, you know, you've got the church and whatnot as well. And then I've been to Polish weddings, which is also European. The European sort of vibe is quite similar across a few countries, like Lithuania and Poland had it similar, slightly different but similar. What I do like is the games they play. This time we played actually some cool games. It was interesting. We had like kind of, obviously when you know the groom and you know the couple, basically you can kind of just the bride and groom, you have to kind of just do questionnaires and stuff, kind of guess it. And then also we played some other games, which I cannot barely remember at this point. Oh yeah, that was a funny part. We had, it was really funny. We basically had teams, and the word, obviously the language is different. So we were like, team come in, that was it, come in, or something like that. Anyway, joke doesn't really make sense, and I don't know why I just mentioned it, but anyway, so yeah, and then we won. So it was like, we named our team, it was just a bunch of guys and my wife as well, and she smashed it actually. There was a game where you had to guess the songs, and she won that, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, it was, we named our team Team Come In, Shoot Your Shot. I don't know why, but when we won they had to announce it as well, so that was interesting. Yeah, it was a wicked wedding, honestly, phenomenal. Had a really good time and made some good friends there, hopefully be able to see them in the future. So that was it. I mean, yeah, Lithuanian wedding was sick. I did manage to take one trade actually, and I did get a trade on New Zealand yen, but it did commit for like 15, 16, 20%, but I got taken out for 1%, but it's completely fine. I'm really happy with the trade, and I can go into that shortly. I took that trade when basically I was flying from Greece to Sweden, then I had a 7-hour stop, and then I was flying over to Lithuania from there. During that stop period, kind of just sat down, thought I'd analyze the charts a little bit, see what's happening, and that's when I saw that the volatility hit the market. I did say to myself as I was traveling, I'm not going to really trade if I'm not in flow, because when I'm on holiday I won't be in flow. But that particular day I was in flow. The day I left, stayed in routines. I actually stayed in routines throughout the whole trip, which was really nice. I think it's something that I can highly recommend to everyone. That is, if you have a routine, like a morning routine or whatever, like just try consistently do it despite whatever you're doing. Like, people found it quite amazing when they saw what I was doing. You know, they'd see me wake up at like 5 AM after a heavy wedding night and whatnot, go and sit on, it was really nice. They had like a pier, you know, massive building and whatnot. Went down and sat on the pier early morning, and yeah, I just had my books, you know, did my journaling, did my affirmations, did read a little bit as well. And then, you know, when some people saw that and they were like, wow, that's pretty incredible, and they saw me doing consistently throughout the whole period, and I think it inspired some people as well, which I actually felt really good about, because I think the feeling of inspiring other people is actually a really nice feeling. And I get told this quite a lot, that I should do public speaking, and the more as the years go on, I think I'm considering it more and more, but I just don't know what I'll do public speaking about. Perhaps maybe this YouTube channel might change into public speaking, who knows. But yeah, overall it was a really good time. Had a really fun period inside Lithuania. The food was pretty awesome. I actually ate beaver you know, the animals that build the dam. Yeah, that was interesting. Usually I don't really eat meat that much, but since I've been in Greece, it's very difficult to get your hands on like some pretty good zucchini and aubergine dishes. They're around, but not so common, and you know, I haven't really got to grips with kind of eating and cooking with Greek food. So I still need to add that into maybe my 90-day goals and start learning some Greek dishes so I can start cooking for myself with the ingredients, and you know, really appreciate the Greek culture and cook for myself. But yeah, overall, really nice period of time, and I've realized now that coming into July, this is a very important time of the year, you know, and I'm so happy that I'm at that point in my journey that I'm being very consistent and focused, because I think if I wasn't in this mindset right now, I would be so far behind in my journey that it would be unbelievable. Because not to say that comparing it to anyone else, but just kind of being realistic for myself for a minute. How much work and dedication have I put in over this period of time? And to let it all go because I haven't worked on my mindset, I think is very negligent. And you know, being able to actually just take that minute and just appreciate everything that I've achieved, and kind of just looking at it not on a month by month basis but on a year by year basis, it's definitely a massive achievement. And yeah, I think for sure, like, you know, if you've been in this journey for at least more than 2, 5 or even 10 years, you know, massive pat on the back, because despite if you're up, you're down, you're still struggling, you're trying, you know, you're being consistent with it, you're trying your best. Maybe you're not focusing the energy in the best place possible and you haven't got the structure that you need just yet, but you'll get there for sure. Everyone will if you stay consistent. And biggest advice is, you know, find a mentor, find somewhere that can teach you, become teachable, find out how you can become the best student, and then apply the teachings and the methodologies. I actually bought some awesome books. You know what, I'm going to pause the video quickly and just bring up the books, because honestly, I was so happy when I got to the Swedish airport, I was able to get these books. So I'm just going to jump to that clip quickly. Okay, awesome. So I have a couple books here actually. So one that is an essential that I always take with me is The Chimp Paradox. Now, maybe this is backwards, maybe you won't be able to read it as it is, but it says The Chimp Paradox on it, and it's a wicked book, honestly, phenomenal. This book is probably like a Bible for you to conquer your psychology. I haven't really dug into many other books, but honestly, this one here, I highly recommend it. I've recommended it to so many people already, and what they do with that recommendation is up to them, but I highly recommend it to you as well. It's a #1 essential. Now, the ones that I actually bought when I went to the Swedish airport, this is awesome. So they get a little bit battered up inside my backpack, but I'm not too bothered, because one day I will buy all the hard copies and I will have it on a beautiful bookshelf that I've already envisioned, and it will be in my future office or library. Haven't really quite decided fully yet, but and it will just be really nice, just scaled with all of the books that I've read, and the ones that I really like. I mean, there's some books that I've read that I don't like, and usually I just don't finish the book, but these are ones that have highly come recommended, not just from my mentor, but also from the people around me. They've also read them, and yeah, I'd just love to share it with you guys. So the first one is Atomic Habits. Now, this book I've actually read, listened to the ebook, but it wasn't quite the same as reading it. Sometimes I find that when you take a minute to yourself to just read a book, it really speaks to you, really shows you and jumps out to you, and it's just beautiful. So yeah, this is one that I think highly recommend to everyone. I know this from listening to it. It's a phenomenal book, and I think you've probably seen it in many places, and it's highly recommended. This is a really nice book. I'm not really going to tell you much about them, because that's something that I think you should self-discover, but absolutely phenomenal and beautiful. The next one is Start with Why. This one actually spoke to me off the shelf. It's not one that's been recommended to me, it's one I just came across, and only recently found out that there's a famous TED talk by Simon Sinek who wrote this book, but more so when I get around to it, I will watch the TED talk of this person. Don't really know anything about him, but what I do like is in the title it says start with why, and that's actually something that I was told when I first started my journey of trading properly, this particular way I'm trading now, and they always say start with your why. So as soon as I saw that, I was kind of like, okay, that's very interesting. And then it said something even more interesting on it, where it said how great leaders inspire everyone to take action. I wouldn't say that I'm a leader, but sometimes I do feel like a leader, and I get kind of put in that position as a leader. I do like to take lead on a lot of things, so I thought this book could be very, very interesting for me to read. And yeah, honestly, I think I'm going to really enjoy this book. I'm really, really going to enjoy this book, so we'll see how that goes. The next one I've got is the international bestseller, Thinking Fast and Slow. Now this book here, I had it on my reading list for quite some time, and it was something that I really, really wanted to learn. It's not just about thinking fast and slow, and I have no idea what these books actually entail, which is the exciting part about it, but I know that I'm going to read them, and I'm going to stay disciplined and consistent with it, and spend enough time to actually get through all of these books. Right now I've been reading 2 books a day, not fully reading the whole book, but I'm reading a portion of the book every day. And I started with The Chimp Paradox and the Side Effect by Mark Hutchinson, and yeah, honestly, it's really nice. It's really nice to absorb it. Of course, in a different sitting, I will go there and repeat the book and apply everything they teach. But usually, I like to go through the book once, just read it and enjoy the book for how it was written. And then the second one is take it in steps and take action for everything they request. So they might say something like, every day, right, do the 5-5-5 rule, for example, 5 affirmations 5 times. I actually forgot the 5-5-5 rule, but basically the 5 affirmations, different affirmations from the list. Pick 5. You have to pick 5 out of the list, and then write 5 affirmations, and then anyway, it's in there, but the 5-5-5 rule, it's really interesting. So I need to go back and read it again. I think I just read the 5-5-5 rule yesterday night, and I've just forgot it again. Terrible. Shows you how much information we actually absorb, right? You need to go over it multiple times to actually really absorb something. So yeah, honestly, this book I think is also going to be an essential. Yeah, I just want to see what it really entails, but I know for sure, like, these books, I'm going to fall in love with them because I've wanted them for so long. And this is from a Nobel Prize winner. I mean, you know, this Atomic Habits, we all know Atomic Habits. This is, I mean, they all say New York best sellers. So, I mean, maybe that's something they can just write, but this one's had over 10 million copies sold, Atomic Habits. I'll probably say the same with Chimp Paradox. The Simon Sinek one, you know, one of the best TED Talks ever released. And then you've got this one from a Nobel Prize winner. I mean, you know for sure. And the last but not least, I think it's probably the one that I'm super excited about. And I have to say, actually, there was an additional book, a guidebook, which could have been bought with this, which I didn't get because I wanted to use it as a reward once I've completed these. But it's Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. Now, this is pretty much for those who are kind of searching for more in life and kind of just want to learn about this sort of journey, this period of years, the insights of Napoleon Hill. And yeah, to be honest, I listened to the ebook of this as well, and I just remember, like, there was just so much good gems in there. But the thing is, I would like kind of program it into my sleep, so I would listen to it and fall asleep, and then every single day I would play a different chapter and then fall asleep, and then so I'd probably listen to the beginning of each chapter and then fall asleep. But falling asleep to this was beautiful. Really did enjoy it. There's a chapter in here, it's about faith, visualizing and believing in the attainment of a desire, you know, and they're just steps to the riches. You know, there's actually 16 steps, and you can buy each individual book, which is also something I want to be adding to my bookshelf in the future. It's to buy all 16 editions of Napoleon Hill's 16 steps to success. And yeah, I think that will be very interesting. But there's an additional book that comes with this, which I was tempted to buy, but I don't need it right now. I've got a lot of stuff I want to get through, and I don't really have a lot of time. But it's to do with like self-reflection, basically applying each step and making sure that you're applying each and every teaching in here. I think having something like that hand in hand with this book is phenomenal, but I need to read this book a few times before I even take that step forward into that. So yeah, overall those are the books, and yeah, kind of just going over that. It was really good. So all in all, let's jump into the analysis for this week. Alright guys, let's jump into this. So the DXY, now DXY is looking really interesting. Now we were looking for price to potentially kind of just gravitate higher, but look at that corrective price. It was no surprise that, you know, there was the room for this to just kind of come down, especially looking at Euro USD, which I have over here, which we'll see last. We can see it now, and yeah, it's just kind of completing that pattern. So what I'm really looking at now is the good sell on Euro USD, which is coming. Right now I'm looking for the DXY to just short, get into this low, do whatever it has to do, but potentially push back up and then start making its way potentially back up to this area, which could be very interesting. And if we do see that, then we'll see the big sell coming from it as well. So it doesn't require a bit of patience, but it does look like if it does go, we could see that towards the end of the year, that we could see the DXY come up here. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. The next one I'll be looking at is opportunity. Yeah, let me just jump into JP225 quickly. So we saw this as the potential head, left shoulder, right shoulder. We are seeing that commitment now as well. It is moving a little bit way corrective, but we broke impulsively, which I do like. And now we're just kind of making our way down here. It's really nice because when we look at a lot of the JP225 related pairs, we can actually see that aggression in the market, which I'm going to love to go into right now. So with absolute happiness, here we are with the USD yen. So as we can see over here, we have moved into this sort of hook point over here, pushed above. We were moving very correctively. We always knew that there was the possibility that we could carry on going higher, but more than likely we could pull back down. And as we go into the 4 hour, we can see that we actually did get that commitment into it. There wasn't a lot of opportunities, I'll be honest with you, but that's completely fine, because when opportunity does shape up, we can then take advantage of it. We can see over here on the 15, there's now the possibility that we are creating something, but it's not my typical sort of pattern. I will wait and I will evaluate, but UJ isn't really my typical trade at this moment in time. I'm going to wait for something a little bit better, maybe a 3-touch. It's more what I'm interested in. Now, Swiss yen. This is something that I am a little bit happy with. Looking at Swiss yen, there's this potential for this expanding and the continuation to the downside. If I just go on the daily, you can see where we are. We are positioned all the way up here weekly. Can't even squeeze it on the daily. We have this massive scoop back into this area. We just broke above. What do we know? Sometimes we catch the people out on the wrong side, and now we're seeing it on the 4 hour. We're seeing the very strong possibility that we're going to get continuation to the downside. I wouldn't let this sort of price action put you off, because when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, it's actually moving down quite aggressively. Not in the fastest momentum possible, but there is an opportunity there. It's possible that we might get something a little bit like spikes up, takes this sort of liquidity to this area and then sells off. Cool, it is what it is. We take a message from the market. However, we can see that there's an expanding there. It's not really leading into anything, and the next point is quite far away. We'll have to wait and see if there's an opportunity on the table there. But more than likely, I think positioning up around about that point is pretty interesting to me. I think I'm more interested to see how this really shapes up. So I'm looking to see if this shapes up. If it does, wicked. We can see if we position ourselves wisely. New Zealand yen, it's getting a bit more sort of drippy, but if we do get that sort of pullback, we tap into this and then get a push down on the flag, wicked. We'll be looking at it. We are sitting at this low, not really bothered about that at all. We look at it on the daily, there's that room. So we have the 1, 2, 3. Obviously we call this 2 because of the how close they are. We have the nice base in there. This one's more of the middle, didn't really commit anyway, and then we push down. We had the 1, 2, and then now we're coming down for the 3rd touch, and then potentially we may not make it all the way down. We might just come down maybe even halfway and then start gravitating back up. But even so, the run has been phenomenal. It started off really well, and this can go. So we're still quite early in the run when you really think about it. If we do size up and we look at it in this sort of light, where we take this all the way into the low, we're just entering the larger flag territory. So over here is where, you know, we could just now create something a little bit more like that and then continue to the downside. So understand that we are coming into that territory, but positioning up here was crucial, and now we're down here. Those were the missed trades, but I'll show you the trade that I did get involved in on. So the trade I got involved on was this one over here, and I'll just replay it back over here. So we had this one, which was a missed trade for me. I did see it in the morning though, early morning for me, which was roughly around about here. I did see this, but I didn't really get through my morning routine, and I wasn't really feeling 100% in the flow yet, so I didn't take it. And I think, looking at it in hindsight, it was a bit of a regret, because I forecasted it and everything. I just didn't take it out of a bit of hesitation. It's okay. But yeah, that one ended up playing out pretty well. And then we had the next one down here where we kind of correctively squeezed back into this, and that's where I kind of saw, okay, fine, this positioning could be crucial now that we have this. So then I basically saw that, but then on the 5 I had the entry in here, so I was more than happy to say, okay, this is that point. If we start pushing above, then this is going to get complicated and do something else. More than likely this is the point of sell, so I took this bang trade right here. 10 pips more than enough. I think I squeezed it in around about 12ish, just to give myself that additional protection, because I wasn't convinced that this was going to go up. But then when I did look at it after I took it, I did feel a bit sweaty, I'm not going to lie. I felt like, okay. And you can see this one was hours later. This is actually when I landed in Sweden. So I was flying around about here, around about 10 o'clock, and then an hour later in Sweden, sat down, relaxed, and then I was basically looking over here while my food was being ordered. And yeah, basically got tagged into the trade, and it did run. And then I think it was around about when we broke this low here. Just wait. This is where I thought, okay, I'm going to lock in 1%. So I got a bit more. Oh, I think it wasn't just yet. It was a little bit. Yeah, it was actually at that point. Yeah. So that's where I locked in 1%. And yeah, it just, you know, it did kind of spike down. It came back up. And then I think at that point there, I was a bit like, it's a bummer, complete bummer. I thought about re-entry, then I was like, nah, I'm gonna leave it. And then if it loads, yeah, there we go. And then yeah, it eventually came back up. And then at this point over here, I actually landed. Now I was, or I think, yeah, around, I was already there. And then the next day I could have taken the trade. I could have, but I was asleep. No, I wasn't actually, I was awake. Crap, I was awake at this point. That's very interesting. I wasn't looking at the charts, I was socializing with some people at the hotel. Anyway, and yeah, it is what it is. Then it came up here for the third touch, and then I understood that. This was the trade when that happened. If I did leave my 1% open, I might have been tagged out by spread, most probably. Could have stayed in just about, but I'm not too sure. And then yeah, that's basically it. So the trade did play out, and it became a very nice trade in the end. And yeah, it's trading all the way down here now, so that could have easily been a monstrosity of a trade, 16%. Then I would have had the other trade over here, which was roughly around about there. That was another 23%, and then the next one would have been over here, probably a bit more on the stop side, probably about 15ish, and then yeah, that would be running another 8.5. So yeah, easily you can see there was an abundance. And actually there was one more trade just over here. I think this one more so would have been a phase line. Could easily taken it like that. Yeah, it would have been a bit more on the higher stop side of around about 23, and that could have been a 6.6. But Yeah, I think that's pretty nice, man. And I think management would have been fairly easy. You would have managed above structure. So once that kind of pushed, and then you had this and it pushed away, you would probably manage just above here. And then when this kind of completed and broke around about here, you would have probably moved all your stops to roughly around about here, just in terms of aggression. And then probably stops would be around about here now. So still have a decent amount of profit locked in. So yeah, that was basically it. I was really happy with this, to be honest, even though it's all played out and I missed the whole bunch of trades there. It is what it is. I was able to connect 6-7% today actually this morning on New Zealand, Aussie New Zealand, Aussie US dollar, which I'll go into in a second. But yeah, we'll move forward onto that. So the next one I'll be looking at over here is EJ. Now, if we just go to the daily on EJ, I think the weekly is even better. We can see that we are potentially channeling to this high, but we can sell off a very good amount before we get there. Like we can sell off, drop off around about here, and then start to gradually make our way back up. We don't have to make our way back up there now, and that's something that we need to understand as well. So looking at it on the daily, there was this sort of low that I was staring at, which I'll zoom in over here. I was staring at this little low here. Let me just take that 12, and just to see if we break it, and we did break it. As we broke it, we then started creating a correction on but below the low, which is very good. This is a very good sort of area to be positioning yourself as well for continuation, because we do have clear continuation to the downside over here, and it's a very nice structure actually when you look at it. So positioning wise, I think that one's fairly simple. Just gonna wait and see. You could probably set a reduced risk, but the stop size I think is about 30ish. Oh no, it's 70. That's massive, humongous. I'll see if there's a liquidity spike in the market that really takes people out. I can't really see that we've really tapped into all of this liquidity over here, so I would be looking for one more spike push up, enter in this position, see if we get some sort of retrace in that area, and maybe even a 15 pip would be suitable. And then to the low, we can see that's even 3%, which is definitely up my streak, and then we'll just manage accordingly, but still potential for very good positioning there. So that's EJ. Aussie New Zealand, now this is one that I already got out of. It still has massive room for commitment, honestly. I just got out of it because I was quite happy with the reward that I made from it, and also I just kind of want to take a step back to kind of focus on this, my video, just make sure I'm back in the flow of my routines. And I think just coming straight back to the markets after my holiday, and then seeing 7-8% run on my MetaTrader, be honest with you, it was a little bit overwhelming, to be honest. Like I'm not fully 100% back, because obviously a part of me is still recuperating, but I did get my rest, hydration, routines, doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. It's just I don't want to be kind of overwhelming myself, like mismanaging and stuff like that, because I want to get super back in the flow before I start smashing things. Because the worst thing I could do right now is sort of beat myself up about something that is very silly, and I think I don't want to be like that sort of person that is beating myself up about any decision I make. I want to make sure that I stick by all my decisions. If I decide a manual close, I decide on sort of managing a certain way, I back myself 100%. I want to be in that mindset. So for that reason, I was happy with that. So kind of going into the hourly chart, we can see on the higher time frame that we are moving in continuation. Formation wise, on the 4 hour, you can see that we're potentially closing with a evening star there. On the hourly, we did have a very nice evening star here with a nice bearish wick. Then on the 15, we can see that we created our continuation over here. We are getting a pullback, which is very common with this pair. If you've studied this pair like I have, and you've also learned from the weekly trade recaps, you know that we do have sharp pullbacks on this before we sell off as well. Even when we do sell off, we do get them sharp pullbacks. It's just a very, very common wicking sort of nature of this pair. Characteristic is a better word, better characteristic for this pair. So that's one thing that I would just say be aware of, that if you are trading Aussie New Zealand, it does have that characteristic of having those bigger pullbacks before we sell off. But nevertheless, this could turn out to be a very, very nice trade. Took out 7% just literally at the bottom there, and we did pull back, so I'm quite happy with that. I did see that little inflection point there as well. But it wasn't about the monetary factor. It was more so just about keeping my mindset where I need it to be. So that's basically Aussie New Zealand. The next one is GBP Aussie. It is doing its thing. I don't think I'm just really at that point yet where I'm ready to sell this. It's in this area. I need to let it do its commitment. Even if it's down here, I'll look for sales. Like, I'm not bothered, like, really and truly. Like, I've understood that if you're just trying to get involved here and you spend all your time and your capital in this area, you'll miss all of the bigger, better trades. Look at this. If you spend all your time in this area, this whole zone here, how many losses would you have incurred to only miss out on this, miss out on this, and miss out on this, right? Hey, it is what it is. Sometimes you get a trade and it goes and you get this small correction and it just flies, and then you don't really get the best trade. There's one trade there and then it flies again, and then you find out that you're all the way down here. You could have made something, you didn't make anything, you actually took a loss. So what? Then you had all of this, and now you're back up here and you understood the larger picture. So yeah, that's basically it for my watch list. Moving on to the wildcards. Aussie US dollar. Now this is one I also got out of, so this was the other trade I took. We had this section over here where we tapped into it, and then we had the 1 2 3 leading into it. As we had the 1 2 3 leading into it, I then evaluated on the hourly to see if we had any sort of candlestick confirmation after the structure, and then we had the retrace, and then I looked on the 15 and it was looking pretty good. We saw that there was a possibility for the 15-minute flag with the 1 2 3, and then I realized that, okay, I have two tops, and then I looked at it like this before anything. Obviously I'm evolving with the market at this point, so I'm not just putting it anywhere. And I was looking at this structure and I was like, okay, cool, this can easily come up here and then sell off. Fine, that looks great. So, but what I'm interested in now is if I was to set a reduced risk entry over here on the break of this, because I had two tops, two bottoms, I'm happy with that. Can I protect myself above this possibility, right? And I was like, okay, that's 10 pips. So 10 would be tight, but it's more than enough. Would I take that? Absolutely. So I was just ready. I actually went for a manual execution, just executed it manually rather than taking the pending order on this one. So I waited just to see what would happen, and then as price came to this, it was very corrective. I thought, okay, we could spike back up, but I know with Aussie US dollar there's the possibility that we don't get that third touch, and it happens quite a lot. So hey, we're gonna wait and see. And then we kind of dropped out, and then at this point here I was like, interesting. We could potentially just evolve, and next thing you know, we're down here, get tagged in, comes all the way back up, and it could come up here. So I was like, let's just wait and see. And then boom, when this happened, I was like, all right, you know what? This is what I planned for, and am I still protected if this does go up? And then I kind of just looked at the timing, and I was like, okay, if this is to go, I'm protected for the next, give it 40 minutes in a sense. So I was like, let's just go with this, and then give it some time, and then boom, it just dropped off. And hey, look, sometimes these play out, sometimes you get tagged out. It is what it is. It was a more for a riskier trade. This is definitely a high risk trade because we only had two tops, two bottoms, not fully confirmed, but then we had the drop off. And then at this point here, I wasn't convinced that I was going to lock in break even so quickly, so I waited a bit, let it do its thing. If I did lock in break even or a little bit of profit, I would have been tagged out. And yeah, so then now it's committing at this point here. I think it was around about here where I was kind of just like, okay, I'm more than happy to take a step back out of the market. And yeah, nope, it wasn't there. I think it was roughly around about here. Definitely was around 3.5%. So that was the manual close. What about there? So yeah, I think there, literally right there, is where I got out the market. And then I think the market just started pulling back. Yeah, and then it's probably just hovering around about here now. Yeah, and that's it. So that was basically the sort of insight of my trade. I'd say it's definitely more on the higher risk, more on the more experienced side of things, and I wouldn't recommend somebody who doesn't trade all the time and understands what they're doing to be taking these sort of trades. But overall, I was happy with that trade. Move on to the next one. EuroCAD. Now, EuroCAD's a bit of the ITCH because I had this trade over here and just got tagged out by a pip. It wasn't a true risk entry. It was more so looking at it like this. So before all of the corrected price action, I saw it as we broke below here, and it was my fault. I went for a 2-touch flag in the wrong place, should have waited for the 3rd touch, and we correctively started pushing away. I didn't read between the price. I think I was a little bit tired, and then price pushed up, pushed back down, tagged me out just by a pip, literally on the tip right there, and then that was it. Just sold off then. Different day, I would wait. That was a complete mistake on my behalf because I should have waited for this, and then the entry really and truly should have been positioned right here. This is where I should have positioned myself, with probably around about protection around about here. Maybe this would have been a better one here in this area, but hey, it is what it is. And then yeah, we ran pretty well. I think we overall ran about 5%, but right now it's just doing its thing. It has this tendency that I've learned that, you know, we do spike out and then come back in a lot, taking people out, and then we move. So it's one that I think I'm adjusting to, and just understanding that it's a part of trading this pair. It has taken me out on the last 3 EuroCAD trades. I did make one big winner of maybe 6% or something, but I did take 1% losses on this, so it's a bit of a bummer. And it was something very similar to this, even on the higher time frame. I think it was on the 4 hour it happened, and then even on the 5. So you know, I'm learning more and more about this pair the more I trade it, which is very important. And then USD Swiss, nothing to report on here, just selling off now. I mean, in line with the DXY. I am waiting though to see if we do get a pullback and then a flag continue and come back up here, waiting for the DXY. Once the DXY comes down here, we might see something similar on USD Swiss. That's why. Euro GBP, waiting as well. Are we going to get a pullback, start moving into this area, create 1, 2, 3, expanding, sell off? I'm not too sure. Right now it does look like we're creating a small correction down here. I would be sharp. There could be smaller time frame sort of correction. Read between the lines. Nah, I can't see nothing for me right now on here. But yeah, I mean, this is a bit more complicated one as well. Not the highest of probabilities, but it still looks good. We had a correction, a sell off, another correction, a sell off. That's what I'm looking for. GBP New Zealand. Yeah, not yet ready as well. Waiting for the 1, 2, 3 into this high. On the daily structure, we can see that we have this little high point over here. Just want to see if we gravitate back into it to get the sell-off. And last, well, not last actually, we got gold, but last but not least, we have Euro USD. Now, what I'm looking at is for this to come to this value point, for then the DXY to come to its value point. So then when the DXY reverses and goes the other way, we get this amazing little sell-off, which maybe completes this area here, and then we get some big movement. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. We'll have to wait and see. I think that's very simple and easy. And then we have gold. Okay, so gold is interesting. We have the sell-off from this high point over here, and then I think the charts are getting a little bit slow at this point. I know I don't have internet issues, which I'm extremely happy about, but we'll just give it a second and let's wait and see. Oh no, I did have internet issues. Seems like I disconnected for some reason. Oh, my internet cut out. Anyway, basically with gold, what we have is a 1, 2, 3 small structure. You can kind of see it on the frozen screen is where that ray line is at the top, kind of just correcting into that. And then I'm looking for an insurance entry rejection to continue to sell. Could be a very good position. Even to that low, I think there's like a good 6 or 7% in there. And then even continuing even lower. I think with how the DXY is shaping up as well though, we have to understand that DXY selling off, we're getting a bit of bullish momentum on gold at the moment, so gold might stall a little bit, hover, and then drop off. But when Euro USD sells off, gold is going to sell off with it, the DXY is going to get stronger, and then the price of gold is going to depreciate. So that is a shift in the market that I'm looking for and waiting for. And yeah, just gonna have to wait and see how that shapes up. But honestly guys, it's looking phenomenal for this week. So it was a bit of a longer video today, but obviously I think it was definitely needed. There was a lot of massive important things that I had to cover. But yeah guys, happy you enjoyed this video, and I will catch you guys in the next video. Take care.